How are you now? And welcome back to another beer review. And the beer I'm reviewing today is Puppers. So this is a golden lager that comes in at 5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is just over 2 months old. I'm going to give a huge thanks and shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and viewer of the channel, sometimes, Sean, for this beer. So big thanks to him. In the description box, I'll post a link to the beer haul video I did that contains all the goodies he hooked me up with. And this might be the creme de la creme of the beer haul because it's Puppers. It's Puppers. This is the official beer of Letterkenny. And if you're unfamiliar with Letterkenny, it is a Canadian comedy series that I believe was released back in, I want to say it was 2016. I first heard about it maybe about 3 years ago. And once I heard about it, I binge watched, I think it was the first 9 seasons in less than a week. It was crazy. Absolutely phenomenal show. I love it. However, some unfortunate news, and that is the upcoming 12th season is also going to be their final season. And when I say upcoming, I mean in a couple days. So this is perfect timing by Sean to hook me up with this beer because in a couple days on Christmas Day, in fact, up in Canada on Crave, they will release the 12th and final season. However, the next day, aka Boxing Day, here in the US, they will release the season on Hulu. And I'm really looking forward to it. Honestly, I'm not surprised they're doing away with the show. It's 12 seasons, and I feel like there's only probably so much you can do with the show. They do have a spinoff called Shoresy. Fuck you, Shoresy. And that just got renewed for season 3, and it's actually pretty good. So the Letterkenny universe will continue on in some form or fashion. So they have a little spiel here on the back. It says, people, persons, peasants, pheasants. We proudly present the perfect palate pleaser for pals parched proper. Puppers, people be piling up to partake. So pitter patter, partner, puppers. Perfect. Yeah, if you know the show, you know exactly what they did there. And yeah, so I'm super excited to be able to give this a go. Why? Not so much because of the liquid inside here. This is basically like a macro lager, an American adjunct lager, but I want this for the can itself. I want it to go behind me on the pretentious wall of bottles and cans, and it will, despite the fact that this is probably not going to be a fantastic beer by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going into it with an open mind. Hopefully it's a good macro lager. And as you know, if you watch the channel, if you've been a sub or a viewer for a long time, my intros are very formulaic where, I always mention the brewery. I didn't do that here because this has had kind of a weird history. I think they first brewed this one back in 2017. It was, what was it? Is it Stack Brewing in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada? That's where they filmed Letterkenny. So they brewed the beer for them. And then I think it was in 2021, Labatt took over and they brew this one now. But I think it's actually brewed at the Mill Street Brewery, which is owned by Labatt. So it's basically a Labatt product at this point, but it's all about the branding anyway, so it doesn't matter. And we'll figure it out as we go on through this review. Figure it out, that's what I said. I said figure it out. Anyway, a lot of quotes, probably too many, maybe not enough. We'll see. Anyway, gonna crack this one open and get it into the glass because that's what you do with beers like this. You drink them, I think, maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna pour it into my Jenny cream ale glass because it's Jenny, baby. That's what we do here. So yeah, I'm anticipating a macro lager, and to be fair, that's what I kind of expect out of this one because it's Labatt, it's Puppers. The only thing I'd say disappointing about this beer from a branding aspect is that it's not in bottles like they drink on the show, but whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, that has a dark golden hue to it. So golden lager, yeah, I'd say like a dark golden lager. A lot of carbonations. This has the etching to promote the carbonation. Just under a finger of a bright white, fluffy head. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, clarity's fantastic. It looks like a lager. Let's get a nose. Oh, yeah, smells like a macro. Sweet, grainy, a little bit of corn, maybe a little bit of a grassy tinge there. Yeah, it's a macro beer, right? It's a macro lager. You're meant to be able to pound out a bunch of these, and based on the nose, nothing off-putting. There's no inoffensive flavor. There's no offensive flavor, so it's very inoffensive. No off aromas, nothing. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yeah, that's solid for what it is. It's a little bit of like a fruitiness to this, not like a lot of times with these beers, I'll say like an orchard fruit, like a apple or pear. This has a little bit more of like a slight stone fruit vibe, like an apricot. Buying this one for 5%, I'd say it's medium bodied, full bodied for a 5% macro lager for sure. The mouthfeel, super crisp, clean, very refreshing, spritzy on the palate, you know, moderate to touch over, moderate carbonation. The taste is very simplistic. Up front, grainy, a little bit of corn, you know, a little bit of sweet malt, passes through, that apricot hits. It's like an apricot with like a little bit of a lemon zest. And then in the finish, I get this slightly floral, more grassy kind of a finish. Mildly bitter, semi to full-on dry. Super easy and crushable. Wow. Yeah, so I'm actually happy this is a pretty decent macro lager. And the reason for that is because if I'm going to drink something like this, or I want to drink something like this, and yeah, it's all about the branding, and I watch the show, and I love the show and all that, I still want the product to be good for what it is, and I think this is good for what it is. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Is it the greatest, you know, macro lager I've ever had? No. Would I buy this if I was in Canada and I could regularly get it? I know they sell at the LCBO and the beer store and whatnot. I would probably grab a can here and there. They usually sell singles of them. So yeah, I'd grab it here and there. Price point's a little bit high, but I still would grab it occasionally. What I like about this is not what I do appreciate about this beer. What I appreciate about you is that it's not like overly sweet. It has a pretty good balance to it. And a lot of macro lagers are just too sweet for me. Like after one or two, I'm just like, yeah, no, time out. That's just too much for me. This has a pretty good balance. I think that dryness really helps this one out. Yeah. One more sip and we'll lock in a rating. 5%, you can't taste it. Yeah, we're gonna pour the rest in. I would say, for me, this is one of the better macro beers I've had lately. Not my favorite, but it would probably enter the conversation of the top 5, definitely in the top 10. It's a really solid macro beer. That's what this comes down to. And yeah, I'm glad I was finally able to try it. So huge thanks to Sean for this one. Sean got this guy a fucking Puppers, and thank you very much, Sean, for doing so. So Puppers, brewed by like 83 different breweries, actually just, I guess, 2 technically, maybe 3. We'll go stylistically, like as far as a macro beer goes, like we'll say American Adjunct Lager. I would give this like a 4.1 out of 5. Like I think it's pretty good. Personal preference, I'll go high 3.5. I'll go 3.6. I think this is pretty solid for what it is. This is not going to blow anyone's socks off. If you like the show and you've always wanted to try this, you know, temper your expectations. Hopefully you already have, you know, if you know what this beer is all about. But I'm just happy it kind of lived up to what I was hoping. Like, this is like best case scenario for me, giving it a 3.6. It really is. And I try not to go into reviews with preconceived notions, but you know, this is Puppers. This is trying to get mass appeal. They're not going to make some crazy fucking beer. At least I don't think so, but that would have been hilarious if they did. And I just think at the end of the day, for what this beer is supposed to be, they did a damn good job with it. It's not going to, again, blow your mind, but it's super drinkable and I enjoy it. And next time I go over the border and I go up to Canada, I'll probably bring back a handful of cans, share with some American friends who enjoy the show, but also sneak a couple into my fridge. So price point availability. Price point, I think these, I looked at both the LCBO and the beer store in Ontario, and they were $3.60 for a single can. And this is a 473 mils, which is a 16-ounce can. Conversion rate right now, as of this video, it's like $2.69, $2.70 a can American. That's a bit pricey. You're talking about a 4-pack being, you know, somewhere close to $11 for this. I would buy it again just because of the branding and the fact I love Letterkenny, but I don't think I would buy it if it wasn't in this can. Like, this beer itself is not worth that price point. But again, you just heard me. If I go up to Canada, I'll probably, you know, bring back a 6-pack of it or something, right? But if I was in Canada, this would not be like one of those beers, you know, I'd have a 6-pack in my fridge all the time. It'd be like, hey, if I'm in the mood for that, I'm going to grab it, you know? That would be kind of the determining factor for me. Also, one thing I mentioned, I'm kind of lingering here. There's a little bit of like a caramel kind of malt character kind of lingering. I just want to mention that because I kind of feel it on my palate after sitting here and talking for a couple minutes and not taking a sip. So it's kind of different. It's almost into like, you know, like a Vienna lager, an amber lager. It has a little bit more richness from the malt that isn't straight like a corny, grainy macro vibe, which is cool. Anyway, Availability, again, you can get it at the LCBO, you can get it at a beer store in Ontario. I don't know if this gets outside of Ontario. I would imagine since Letterkenny is so popular that it probably does. Don't know where that is. We certainly do not see it here in the Buffalo, New York area in the US. I don't think this gets imported to the US at all. It'd be cool if it did for people that love the show. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is just a fucking cool beer to review. It's a bummer that Letterkenny is ending with its upcoming season. I think it's the 12th season or the 13th. Is it 12th or 13th? I said 12 throughout this entire review. I think it might be the 13th. I don't know. I fucking have no idea. There's a lot of seasons. Just go watch. If you've never seen Letterkenny, you like Canadian comedy series, I'm not going to say it's comparatively speaking, the equivalent of like a Trailer Park Boys or something like that, but it's that type of comedy. I love it. And they really, focus on quotes, which is why I had a couple quotes in this review, and there's more that I probably missed. The Canadian geese, the Canadian goose. I suggest you let that one marinate. There are so many good quotes from the show that I can't do them justice, and I won't even try. So we're just going to shut this one down. Huge thanks to Sean for hooking me up with not only all the beers he did, but this one specifically. If you've had this beer before, post in the comment section. Let me know. What did you think about this one? Honestly speaking, from take out of the equation just the fact that what do you think of it from a beer's perspective? I gave this a 3.6, right? And that would be disappointing it as a whole if you watch my channel. But going into this review, knowing what this beer is, I think it's a good score. So hopefully if you enjoy the show and you got a chance to try this one, you enjoyed it to some degree. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to change your life, but it sure as shit going to be enjoyable to try and review in my case. So once again, thanks to Sean. Thanks to everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.